Hello, and thanks for joining me on another video. This one's a little bit different in that I decided I'd stand for this one. It's just a bit of a hot, sweaty day. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing a hoodie in that case, but it's very lightweight and very soft material, so it's quite comfy. Although now I'm recording, I feel like I might regret that. I feel like I'm getting a bit clammy already. Same room as normal, just backdrop's the same, just I'm not sat down over there. So hopefully it's all right, and I'll try not to move about too much because I do tend to pace when I'm on my feet. So yeah, this video is a bit different because I'm not just talking about traits and how they affect me. This is more of something cool that we did last week, me and my son. And that was to go to the My Chemical Romance gig in Wembley Stadium last week. It was the Long Live the Black Parade tour. And we didn't even know that if this was a thing, so we didn't book it ages ago. We just very recently booked it. And what happened was we were at my son's dual assessment for ADHD and autism. And while we were there, he happened to be wearing a My Chemical Romance t-shirt with the band's name over the front of the chest. So a couple of staff members who worked at the clinic happened to spot it, who were also massive fans of My Chemical Romance. So they'd stop and talk to us about the band. And two people on different occasions talked about how they're going to the Wembley concert. And it was news to me when I first heard this because I thought the band split up a long time ago. I didn't even realise they'd got back together, were touring and all that kind of stuff. So I decided I'd book tickets. Rang home first to check his mum was okay with me taking him out of school early and, going to be arriving home late. So she said it's okay. So we booked it. And tickets were a bit expensive because we were buying resale. And I did buy quite good seats, I think, compared to being like way further out in the stadium. I thought kind of, if you're going to go to these things, because I did once go to see Foo Fighters and we were sat so high up, it wasn't really that enjoyable. You didn't feel like you were part of the thing. You kind of got this terrible sound quality of what was going on way over there and way below you. So I thought if we're going to go, we've got to get good tickets. So did that, bought nice tickets, and yeah, luckily we didn't have too long to wait to be excited about it. We just kind of booked it and we were going the following month. And we went, I think, the first night it was showing. So they were doing 3 dates at Wembley Stadium, one after the other, starting, I think it was Wednesday last week. So we went to that, absolutely amazing. And I thought I'd just do this video to talk about what we got up to while we were there, how things felt while we were there, how maybe ADHD and autism kicked in. So definitely ADHD kicked in the moment I heard that they were doing the tour, and immediately, impulsively just booked tickets. I didn't really give too much thought to the sensory side of things and the exhaustion you feel going to those kind of events, and the stress that I feel going to them for loads of reasons, including the travel, the people you're going to be around and that kind of thing. So yeah, very impulsively booked that, but overall, in the end, very glad I did because we both had a great time. So what happened was the day of the event, he went to school in the morning. It got to sort of lunchtime where they stopped for lunch. I picked him up just as they were starting their lunch and came back here, quickly got some food in us for lunch, and he got changed out of his school uniform into his My Chemical Romance t-shirt. Yeah, had a bit of stress at the time, just worrying, probably I'm forgetting something, we're going to get there, realise I needed to bring ID or something like that. So there was a bit of stress just getting our stuff together. I took my X-Real glasses, which are basically glasses you can plug into your phone. So basically it projects a massive cinema screen in front of you. So I thought, if we're getting there super early, my son might get a bit bored waiting for the band to begin. Also, while the support act were on, he wasn't interested in that at all. That was a band called Skunk Anansi. They were good, but that's not who we were there for. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I took these X-Real glasses so he had something to do if he got bored. He could plug into my phone, play a game in full cinema screen in front of him. They're really cool glasses. Anyway, it's not the point of this video. So got all our stuff together, got in the car, did a quick pit stop at Costa, as is very customary for me on a long journey. I like to just have a large coffee to sip on the journey, because travel just makes me really anxious because I worry about getting lost all the time. I'm famous for getting lost everywhere I go. To sum it up, I got lost in a changing room area once not like so bad that I was missing for hours, but I felt very confused and disoriented and couldn't find my way out of the changing room area. And I opened a door and it happened to be a changing room that had someone in it. So sorry, whoever that was. So travel is very stressful for me, to the point where often actually I would choose not to go on events like this if I had to get trains and tubes and buses that I just can't get my head around. I would just probably not go on those kind of things. But as it happens, we could drive. But then the drive itself was quite stressful to think about, and especially before we left, days and days before we left, I was really anxious about what am I going to do with my car when I get to where we're going. I know I can't just park up outside of Wembley Stadium, so how on earth do I find a car park and a parking space? So that was stressful. So what I did was, and shout out to justpark.com, because they made it really easy. I just went on there, searched Wembley Stadium on this date, and up came all the results for places that I could book a space, including people's driveways. So for 11 quid, absolute bargain, I could park from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, basically up till midnight. And I don't think it would have mattered if we had got back a bit later. I could park on someone's driveway, and they were 1 mile away from Wembley Stadium, which was about 20-minute walk, I think it was, or 7 minutes in a cab. So I kind of thought when we got there I would take the cab option, but we ended up walking. But it was a very hot day, so a bit of regret midway through the walk. Anyway, so Just Park booked a space, and that took a huge weight off my shoulders, because I was really worried about that, to the point where I started to think, like, what have I done? I've booked this thing, we've got to go to it now. I didn't really give any thought to travel and parking. But as it happens, we've got this space. Sat nav pinpointed where it was. It was someone's house. And so that made things really easy. Turned out absolutely fine. No issues, no stress, no getting lost, which is rare for me. And anyway, so we did this pit stop to Costa. So I had a coffee to drink in the car. That was nice, kept me relaxed. And if ever I felt a little anxious, I could have a sip, and it kind of brought the anxiousness down a bit. So the journey was quite nice. It was about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes or something like that. Not too much traffic at all, really. Roads were quite calm. There was times when they were a bit busy along the motorway, but I was surprised, because I thought when we got to London that it was going to be chaos, and it just wasn't. There was big open streets when we arrived. It was like being here in the countryside almost. So I really appreciated that space a lot. If ever you're going to Wembley Stadium and you're like me and you just can't wrap your head around public transport and how to do all the stops and changes, if you can drive, I recommend going that route. Just go on justpark.com or some other site, probably does the same thing. Book out someone's driveway. It's super easy. My only worry about that after I'd booked it, although it took all the weight off my shoulders, there was a little bit of weight left on, because I thought there's a lot of scammers these days. What stops someone selling and someone else's parking space with no intention of letting you actually park there, and then you get there and there's no space to park in? That was a worry, but it turned out it was fine. Nothing to worry about. We got there nice and easy, hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. We sat in the car for about 20 minutes just to come down from the drive, because although nothing particularly bad happened, I'm still always full of nerves driving and anxiousness. So chilled out in the car for like 10 minutes, maybe 15, and decided we'd set out on foot. Both had our portable handheld fans. I had a little bag because I pre-checked you weren't allowed to take big bags in, anything bigger than 30 centimetres and 15 in depth. So when I measured my little bag, it was too big. So I took one of those little man pouch bag things, just to keep some basic items in. So took our hand fans. I thought those were going to be essential because it was such a hot day. Didn't know how hot it was going to be. I knew we'd be standing in lines at some point. And overheating is something that happens to me all the time. My son also suffers massively from heat sensitivity. He'll feel sick if he's in the sun too much. Off we went, carrying our stuff. sat-naving via Google Maps. So on foot will tell you exactly where to go. And it kind of got us to a point where we saw a McDonald's, and I think feeling anxious walking around trying to find Wembley Stadium, when we saw McDonald's, we're like, it's just a place of familiarity that kind of takes away a bit of that anxiousness just because you found somewhere that's familiar, even though, it's a different McDonald's we've never been to. Just the fact it was a McDonald's, I was like, oh, let's go in there. So we have a sense of like normality. And we went in there. He had an ice cream. I think I had some chicken selects. I don't normally like McDonald's, but yeah, don't mind the chicken selects. We went round Lidl to buy some sun cream because we didn't bring any. So I thought, well, I don't want to be stuck in queues, burning in the queue. So next to the McDonald's was a Lidl. So we went in there, got some cream, bought a couple of water bottles because the ones we'd taken from home evidently were too big to be allowed into Wembley Stadium. Normally they don't let you take water in, but because of the heat wave that we've been having, they changed the policy. You're allowed to take bottles, but they've got to be 500ml. So I went into it Lidl, got some sun cream and water, kind of left. We went outside and there was just everyone outside was clearly there for the gig. They're all wearing My Chemical Romance gear. Loads of people face painted, skeletons and all sorts of stuff like that. And we spoke to a couple of people. One in particular definitely was a self-harmer. They had slash marks all up their arms. I felt really sorry for them. Anyway, yeah, so we spoke to them, asked them, like, what is there to do at Wembley? Because I've been there before, but it was a long time ago. And what I didn't want to do was leave this place of comfort and familiarity, which was McDonald's, for somewhere that was just like a concrete jungle of nothing to do. And she said, oh yeah, there's not much to do there. That's why everyone's hanging around here. But at the same time, I thought, well, I'd rather go and check it out for myself. And if there is nothing to do, we can always come back, even though the worry of getting lost and trying to find the McDonald's again was a problem. I didn't want to just hang around McDonald's because I thought we're just going to eat tons of McDonald's or just be stood here. We might as well go and find the venue and become familiar with that, because often it's the not knowing what to expect can often be a cause of anxiety. So I thought, well, I'd rather go there and know what the place looks like and how to get there, even if it means coming back. So we did that, off we went. But actually, when we got there was a lot more stuff to do than the McDonald's. There was a Costa, so we went in there. There was the merch stand, which obviously your wallet takes a hit when you visit that. And Jamie desperately, my son Jamie, wanted to get himself some merch. So we went over there. He was already wearing a My Chemical Romance t-shirt, but he wanted one with the tour dates on. So obviously I said yes. I wanted him to have a t-shirt, even though he had a perfectly fine one on. This one had all the tour dates for this specific tour. It was quite nice as well. And it was just nice to do this one-off event together that we've never done before. So quite happy to buy merch and stuff. It was also really hot, so we bought a hat, which was a bit of a waste of money because I feel like the hat was really expensive for what it was. It's just a cap that has the ventriloquist doll emblazoned on the front and the band's name just in really small writing at the back. It wasn't worth the money, and we didn't really need it, apart from the fact it was really hot and I didn't want him to burn. So we bought it mainly for that reason. But yeah, 30 quid, I think, for that cap, which to me seems a bit of a waste. Anyway, so we got to this area, had a Costa, bought some merch. I'll try and put some pictures up now of us buying the merch, because I know we took a few pictures of that. And I think we spent a bit of time just mooching about there. Took ages in Costa because I wanted to get a drink. It was really hot. We found our place, see a Costa, I'm going in there for sure. Ordered a couple of drinks, but Jamie had, at this point, bought his merch, his t-shirt, and wanted to wear it into the show. So I was like, well, of course, yeah, you can do that. And I was trying to get him to change into his t-shirt outside Costa, where there was just, we could have just tucked in somewhere. There's loads of people are bustling around, but they're all doing their own thing. No one's watching. You could just take your t-shirt off and change it. And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. He doesn't want to expose himself to other people. And I was like, well, when you go swimming, you take your top off and you don't have anything on then, and you don't care. But anyway, I couldn't reason with him. He just wanted to go into Costa toilets. But to get into the toilets, because it was obviously one of the few shops that have a toilet in that little stretch up to Wembley, everyone was waiting to go in. So we had about a 20-minute queue just to go into the toilets to put a t-shirt on. But that was okay. I didn't want to try and force him to take his t-shirt off if he wasn't comfortable doing it. So he did that in the toilets. He's all ready to go. And then what did we do next? I feel like we checked out each different merch stands. I went back, actually, after buying his t-shirt and a hat. I ended up going back because he pointed out that they were selling the vinyl of the Black Parade album. I think they had other ones as well, but they had a limited edition one, and it was on my wish list to buy the vinyl because I thought recently I decided I was going to start a vinyl collection for when I end up in my new house. I thought it'd be quite nice to have a vinyl player. I've got the speakers already, just don't have the vinyl player yet, but I've been collecting vinyls as I go. So yeah, it felt appropriate to buy that as well. So I ended up back at the merch stand. After we got that, I think we just headed to where the turnstiles would be for our entry. And we just stood in line waiting to go in, but it was so hot. Luckily, we had the, the sun cream that we'd bought. So we were smothering that on, but it wasn't, I don't think it was a very good quality one. And it was kind of very yellowy. So like, it was a spray on, but where the spray came out the bottle, it kind of dribbled down the bottle a little bit. And then over time, that just, turned yellow. And I was like, oh, that's going to turn my t-shirt yellow, I'm sure, if any gets on it. So I was kind of sparingly putting it on any places that would typically burn. Jamie had loads on. And overall, we didn't burn, luckily. But we were stood in this hot queue. Oh, it was just horrible. Like, for lots of reasons. One is not knowing when they're going to open the doors. Like, the doors were supposed to open at 5 p.m. So I think by the time we joined the queue to go in, it was probably about a 40-minute wait until that 5 p.m. came around. But they didn't open the doors at 5 p.m. It was like 5:20. So it's a long time to be stuck in one little queue. Yeah, when I bought the sun cream, the only one I could get was in a metal bottle, and I already knew that when I got to the gates they would want to throw it away because they won't let you in with any metal containers. So that was fine. I was like quite glad that I wouldn't have to look after this metal bottle. So I was kind of like offering it round to anyone in the queue, and a couple of people took it and used it. But yeah, just being around lots of crowds, I find quite draining from a visual perspective. So I think it's not so much the claustrophobia, because there's a bit of that when you're like squashed in with a bunch of people. It's just visually, you've got so much to look at, loads of different people. And I find like you're constantly scanning your space for who's around. Also, there's just a lot of conversation going on from all different places. So your kind of head is filled with so many different overloads. For me, I think visual is one of them, probably the biggest one. But also, there's just a lot of conversation going on. Can't focus on any of it. It's just all at once. And the smells as well. Like, I'm definitely someone who has a sensitivity to sense of smell. And not even bad smells, but just too many smells gives me a headache. Stood there in the queue, you could smell the sweat. Wasn't pleasant, I'd say. And I was on the brink of getting a headache, I think. But that could have been just the whole heat situation as well. We eventually were able to get in, and, glad to be out of the sun, finally at the venue where we can walk around more, we can go find somewhere to get another drink, some food if we want. But first things first, you've got to get past security. So that's fine, not carrying anything I shouldn't. I'd already looked up the prohibitive items list, and nothing I had on me was prohibitive, apart from the canister of sun cream, which I knew they would just throw away, which they did. Straight away, he took it out of my bag and went, can't come in with that. I went, oh yeah, I did know that would be the case. So he took that away, then said, open your bag, please. So I did, pulled out the X-Real glasses. He tapped them and said, can you open that up? I opened them. Now, it's a digital device. It's just a pair of sunglasses that can connect to my phone via a cable. And the cameras, sorry, not the cameras, the lenses have a screen built into each lens, so that what happens is when you're connected to your phone screen is projected onto these screens that then you're in your vision. And this guy saw that they weren't ordinary glasses. There was a cable in there as well, like a USB-C cable, nothing crazy. And he went, no, you ain't coming in with these. And I was just like, immediately, felt rage, so much rage, because I'm like, why not? And he said, I was trying to contain it. I wasn't immediately like angry with him, but I felt it. I was like, why not? Like, they're literally a pair of sunglasses that have screens in them. They don't even record. What is the problem with it? It's no different to my phone. I held up my phone. I was like, these just display what my phone displays. They don't take pictures. They don't record anything. It's just for him, pointed to my son. If he gets bored, he can plug in and he'll have a screen in front of him to look at. That's all they do. Like, why would that be banned? They're a pair of sunglasses at the end of the day. And they can be worn as a pair of sunglasses, although I don't think you ever would because they're a bit heavy. But yeah, this guy kind of called someone else over and then they had this big discussion, and then he went off and phoned someone else. And I'm like, if these were on the prohibitive items list, I wouldn't have brought them. But, nothing said you can't bring glasses. I don't suppose anyone wearing Meta Ray-Bans that can record, I don't suppose they're getting taken out. People's mobile phones aren't getting taken away. So why have you got a problem with a pair of sunglasses? It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, after a while, he came back with my glasses in his hands. They weren't protected by like the screen protector that I would have liked him to have used. And he went, yeah, you can come in. And it just made me mad. Like, already I've started this stressful journey into going to Wembley, which normally I wouldn't go through with because of the stress. And this guy's instantly just made me feel super, super stressed because of it. Potentially I'm going to lose my, I think they were like 400 quid. I'm going to lose my £400 X-Real glasses for no valid reason. Like, why could you possibly take these away from me? Like, what are they doing wrong? Anyway, I couldn't, there might have been like strong sense of justice kicking in there. Well, I'm normally a people-pleasing person, don't cause any issues, don't upset anyone. I was ready to, pounce on this guy because, like, why are you not letting me in with my device? It's like a perfectly ordinary device. Anyway, so we were able to go in, so that was fine. So off we went. We went in. Jamie immediately saw they were selling popcorn. Was like, can we get some popcorn? Yeah, got some drinks. And we went and found our seats. But by this point, we're super early. I think the support act was coming on at 6. I think it was 6. Yeah, we had a bit of time before that was happening. So I think by the time we'd got through security, we were probably at like 5:30 something. Found our seats. It was right... you know how like at a stadium they often block off certain seats, like you can't buy those seats, they're kind of got a fabric cover over them. So we were the first row of seats just after these blocked off ones, so we essentially were at the front. So I was like, oh, that's great, so no one can be in front of us in our getting in our view. We can see the stage, it's just over there, brilliant. Big screens either side of the stage as well, excellent. And although I would have preferred seats on the edge, they just weren't available, like aisle seats, so that we can stretch our legs into the aisle if we need to. But anyway, I think we were 3 and 4 in from the aisle. And after finding our seats, we're like, okay, we know where we are now. Do you want to go back upstairs and grab another snack? So we did that. We came back to our seats just as the Skunk Anansi, the support band, were playing. And straight away, they was really loud when they came out, like thundering drums, which I love drums so much. But you could really feel the beat in your chest. And Jamie said, Dad, I feel sick. I went, what? You feel sick? He goes, yeah, the music, it's in my chest, it's really making me feel sick. And I knew exactly what he meant, because I know I've felt the same during fireworks as a kid. Anything where you can feel like rumbling in your chest from an external source, like firework booms and bangs, can make you feel a little bit sick. But particularly music, because it's quite continuous, isn't it? Like a fireworks, like a one-hit thing, or maybe like consecutive hits, but it's not like a constant rumble. Whereas the bass of like heavy music can be like that. So immediately I was like, oh no, this is a disaster. Like, before we can even see My Chemical Romance, Jamie's feeling sick from the bass, so how's he going to manage to see through the whole show? And I said to her, do you want to go up and get away from the music so you don't feel it? And he said, no, I want to try and stick through it. But I was thinking, I don't know if we should, because if he gets sick from it and it stays with him, he might not be able to watch the show that we actually came for. But anyway, after a few minutes, he said, I've got used to it now. And yeah, he did. And he didn't like the band, though. I already showed him the band on the drive up. So we listened to Skunk Anansie on the way a little bit. And he said, no, they're rubbish. Wouldn't have it, that they were any good. And I thought maybe when he sees them live, it'll be a slightly better experience. And I wasn't, that keen on them. They're okay. Good singer, like definitely talented, but just didn't know much of the songs or anything like that. So for me, take it or leave it. And anyway, so once they finished their set, which was more than an hour, then people started to dismantle the stage. So there was a bit of time between the support band coming off and then My Chemical Romance coming on. But eventually some actual band members started walking on the stage, and obviously roars from the stadium because the band are coming on. They were just setting up, really. So we had a bit of time. I think we disappeared to the toilet again, came back. And yeah, the show got underway and it was absolutely amazing. Like we knew all the music because they just played lots of music that we were familiar with. And what kind of was really annoying is that right in front of us were the standing area. So, we were the first seated row. But what happened was, so the people sat next to us, the moment that the band came on, they immediately stood up to cheer the band. I was like, that's fine. Jamie, do you want to stand up? Because actually, I think they expected you to rise up off your seats to sing the Drag national anthem, which was like a made-up national anthem for their fictional place called Drag. And he said, no, I want to stay sat down. So we sat down, as did some other people behind us. I think because we didn't stand, they didn't need to stand, so they carried on sitting. But the person next to me, who's right at the front, stood up, and she never sat back down throughout the whole show, which was kind of really annoying to me, because although we had a view of the stage, and we were right at the front of the seating area, the band did still seem quite far away, so I would have liked to have been able to see the big screens, which were massive, but they were doing close-ups of the band, and you could see the band singing and drumming and all sorts of stuff like that. So I definitely would have liked to have been able to change my view from the stage to the screen. So in order to see the screen, I had to sort of constantly look underneath this person who's stood in my way. And I thought, any minute, hopefully she sits down. And I really wanted to say, excuse me, you're blocking the view of the screen. You've stood up for quite a while. Do you mind sitting down a bit so you don't keep obscuring my view? And I don't know, I feel like she would have been okay with that. But at the same time, I didn't want to ruin her enjoyment of the thing. Even though it was kind of taking a bit of my enjoyment away, I was just like, who's it fair to? Is it fair that she stands up for the entire time, or do we have a bit of both where she can sit down for some of it? But it was okay. In the end, I just, settled for kind of looking through a gap at the screen when I wanted to, and Jamie wasn't obscured at all, so he could see everything. But yeah, it was just an absolutely amazing show. Obviously, being the Black Parade, Long Live the Black Parade tour, all the music was from the Black Parade album initially, and then they switched it up in the second part. They went onto a different stage that was in the middle of the standing area. Oh, that's what I was saying about the standing area. I felt like this person who stood up the entire time next to me should really have bought a standing ticket, because these are the seated tickets, and just over there are the standing ones. You should have bought a standing ticket, really. So yeah, second part of the show, they kind of changed from their main big stage to sort of a secondary stage that was in the middle of the crowd in the standing area. And then when they played that, they played sort of different music that I was less familiar with. It wasn't from the band, from the albums that I know. And I think they announced one was like a cover song that they'd done years and years ago when they didn't have many songs to play. So they kind of played that as a cover song, which was cool. By the end, obviously, it was nice and dark. lots of phone torches out, which kind of looks nice. And Jamie, towards the end, I think he'd somewhat had enough because he was getting tired, but they weren't finished yet. But at one point, loads of people left. I think it was after the main stage stuff had ended. It kind of felt like the end of the show, but no one said it wasn't. So you could see lots of people leaving. And I was like, no, I feel like it's too early, Jamie. We can't leave yet. And as it turned out, yeah, they were just leaving that very theatrical show behind to move on to the middle stage to do something different. So loads of people would have missed out. I don't think they realised that when they left, they were missing out on like another whole hour at least of the show. What I found while it was dark is I'm very sensitive to light, and they did have warnings up about people who are light sensitive should be careful, but I don't have epilepsy, so I assumed that sign was mostly geared towards those kind of people. And but yeah, there was times where the whole entire stadium would just go like brighten up, and honestly, for me, I was like squinting through it, really blinded by it. And I look around to see if Jamie was okay, and his eyes were wide open, as were everyone around me. They didn't seem to have a problem with the fact that it was quite dark before, and now it's boom, like bright time. Yeah, for me, I'm a very, very squinty person in even mild light. So, yeah, I just had to keep like putting my glasses on my head when it was dark, and if suddenly it, boom, brightness, I'd put my glasses back down quickly, and that made me feel okay. Oh, something really cool happened. One of the crew members, I think my light behind me just ran out of battery, so apologies if the video's just changed a little bit. But yeah, so Jamie, at one point, this guy who I think was a crew member, he was trying to get, it turned out, my attention, or Jamie's attention, but he was kind of like signalling, you couldn't hear it because there was so much noise, but he was trying to signal to Jamie to pay attention. But I didn't know this. I'm like, whose attention is he trying to get? It can't be me because I haven't done anything wrong. No, neither's Jamie. And I kept looking back at this guy, and I was like, I still can't tell if he's talking to me. So I kept like, I think he realised I didn't know what was going on. And eventually he just tossed towards Jamie this guitar pick, yellow guitar pick. And when I realised he was trying to give Jamie this guitar pick, I was like, oh, thanks. That's amazing. So I had a look at it, and it had the tour date on, branded up as the band, and it was a guitar pick from Tortex, who make guitar picks. And I was like, oh, this is amazing, because it's a very unique thing, like souvenir to take away from a gig that I don't think many people would have got. I don't know why he picked Jamie, but rather nicely, he picked him, and he's actually learning guitar. And actually, because he's learning guitar at school, they've got like this little band. And the next day after our gig was their end of term performance. So you'd go into their morning assembly, and the kids who've been doing Rocksteady would pick up their instruments and play the song that they've been learning throughout the term. So Jamie was able to play with this guitar pick that he got the night before at the My Chemical Romance gig. So that was really nice to get that. Yeah, one thing I didn't mention, I'll quickly add it now, was sound. So it's quite common for neurodivergent people, particularly autism, to struggle with unexpected loud sounds. So being at a gig, it's obviously filled with that, but you kind of do expect it, but you don't know where they're going to come from. So part of the show was that there was going to be an execution, a theatrical execution. And the way that was done was with lots of explosions. There was loads of pyrotechnics on this show. So Jamie had said that he wanted to go and go to the toilet. So we got up from our seats, went to the toilet. But as we were leaving the stadium area, I don't know what you call it, we'd got up the top of the aisle of the steps. There was this big boom and a massive explosion from the execution. And I think I was focused on just getting up the stairs, up the aisle without tripping over. I wasn't too focused on the sound. So to me, it didn't bother me at all. But Jamie said, that really hurt my ears. And I didn't think he was very sound sensitive, really. But he definitely did not like that explosion. And it meant then that he was anticipating more of them, even though more were not likely to come. So when we went back, he kind of had his hands by his ears a lot, trying to be ready to protect his ears if there should be another explosion. And I said to him, I think you'll know when there's going to be an explosion, because we kind of knew that something was going to happen before we were going to the toilet, because there was going to be this execution. And there was a big countdown and things like that. And everyone in the stadium had some voting cards for whether they should do it or not. But I think whatever the vote, they would have done it. So yeah, I said, don't worry about it. Like, there won't be a loud explosion out of the blue. There'll be something leading up to it. You can expect it and you can have your hands ready. But there was times when it started to become apparent that there might be an explosion. And Jamie then kept saying, I need to go to the toilet. And I said, and I don't think he really did. I think he just was looking for an excuse to get up out of his seat, to get away from the main stadium so he couldn't hear this loud bang when it goes off. And I was like, Jamie, I feel like you don't need to go to the toilet. You're worried that there's going to be an explosion. And he said, no, I really do. So off we went, and he didn't really. I think he just wanted to be away. But there was another explosion as well. So, yeah, I would have quite liked to have been there for it. But at the same time, his needs come before mine for sure. So, yeah, I thought that was just an extra something I'd add. So sensory overload from unexpected loud sounds definitely was a thing that came up in that moment. Anyway, so back to the end of the show. When we left, we did wait till the very last song had been sung and everything, and then tried to make our exit. But obviously the streams of people trying to leave meant there was a big wait. And it actually ended up taking us longer to get out of Wembley Stadium than it took for our entire journey home. That's how long it took. And it was horrible because we kind of got trapped at the path, down the pathway that leads to where the station is. And me getting lost easily, I didn't really know where I was going. I felt very disorientated because when we went in, it was daytime, but when we were leaving, it was nighttime. So being light to dark means everything feels new again. And yeah, I didn't really know how to not go towards the station because the sat-nav on my maps was telling me to go that way, even though we definitely didn't come via the station, I didn't think. I think there was another way in to get to the McDonald's, but when I saw the McDonald's glowing through this gap in the trees, there was a big fence in the way. So I was like, I'm going to have to go this way the sat-nav's going. But that meant waiting in this disgustingly sweaty, packed, stinking queue. I literally wanted to throw up in my mouth, and being very sensitive to smell, in that moment I was just like struggling internally to get through this. So people started to sort of break the gate open and go through what looked like a shopping mall almost, but it wasn't a shopping mall, it was like a bar or something. But you could break away and go through these big doors, through these various bars, and out the other side. So I think once they realised people were trying to break out, the sort of bouncer type security people closed the gap up and then wouldn't let people go. But then they started to say, okay, yeah, go on, come through to some people, but they wouldn't open it for everyone because they didn't want people flooding through this one bar. But they would allow you to walk back against the crowd, back around and then through. So I did that. We fought our way back through the crowd, which took about 10 minutes because the lady who wouldn't let us out of this gap said, yeah, if you wait in this queue, you're looking at easily 45 minutes before you'll be at the end able to leave. So I was like, well, he's got school in the morning. It's worth the 10-minute battle this way just to get through this gap. What happened was, though, we fought through, went through the bar, back out the other side, and I was like, excellent, we've escaped that horrible queue. Somehow, my ability to get lost kicks in all the time, and followed the sat-nav straight back to the queue, but just a bit further down. So at that point, I realised I don't want to try and deviate from what the sat-nav says because I think I'll end up back here again. But luckily, we did I think doing that 10-minute back travel thing meant that even though we rejoined the queue, it was way further ahead. So we did save quite a bit of time, but we had probably had about another 25 minutes stood in this queue to get to where the station was, even though we weren't going via the station, just to be able to get away. So yeah, all in all, trying to leave Wembley, it was about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes, something like that. Jamie was very patient throughout it. he does tend to wander quite easily, so I didn't want him to get lost and we got separated. So I had to sort of have my hand on his shoulder all the time. And I said, look, if my hand leaves your shoulder, don't walk any further, because my worst nightmare would be he weaves in and out as he does, because he doesn't seem to have too much of trouble worrying about, like, you know, pushing in front of people sometimes. Whereas I struggle to do that, or I would do it to keep up with him, but I didn't want to have to. So he was quite patient. We got through the smells and the sweat and just the horrible vibe. And we were able to then walk back to our car with the help of the sat-nav. Jamie was quite good. He knew this is the point we crossed the road, so let's cross the road here. So we did that, and, you know, he was quite helpful navigating. Finally arrived at the car, and the sense of relief in me to be back at my car, able to drive home with a sat-nav. Oh, it was so good. Drove home, again, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, and rushed him to bed the moment we got home, because he had school the next morning, and his performance with his band. Absolutely loved it. Overall, it was just the best time. So glad we did it, but it's not something I could do often. So if you know, he did already say, if System of a Down ever play at Wembley, can we do that again? And I was like, yes, but if they said next week they're doing it, I would say no. It's just too much. Got to come down from it. Next morning, he was absolutely fine. Said, did you enjoy it last night? Yeah, loved it. Yeah, it's just the best time. And it was just nice to do that with him, because, you know, we don't do loads of stuff like that together. It was nice to have that shared interest and both be able to experience something really cool, like your favourite live band, in a venue like Wembley Stadium, which is something I have been to see Muse once before, but it was a long time ago, and I was a bit drunk with my friends, so I can't really remember it that well. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting, and it kind of let me portray some of the challenges we faced along the way that were neurodivergent specific, I think. Have you ever done concerts? What are your stresses? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, I will see you later.